There's only 4 teams left in the NBA playoffs, so let's discuss what a championship would mean for each remaining franchise. Let's start in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics. The last time the Celtics won a championship was all the way back in 2008, which was 16 years ago.
Anything's possible!
While the rosters are completely different, there is a key statistical similarity between that 2008 team and this 2024 team. Mainly, the Celtics clinched the best record in the entire NBA this season, and the last time it happened was, you guessed it, 2008. If you follow the logic here, that was also the last time they won a chip. On an individual level, you can argue of the star players left in the playoffs, Jason Tatum is the most in the hot seat in terms of criticism. Think about it, he's the only superstar remaining who has lost in the NBA Finals before. That, of course, is when he lost to Steph Curry back in 2022. His next opponent's core has never even been this deep in the playoffs, so he's highly expected to show up and make it to his second finals, but this does put him in a bit of a catch-22. If he loses this conference finals, he will have no excuse. If he wins this conference finals, he will be expected to make up for what he lost back in 2022. However, if Jason wins and exceeds the criticism, he can finally immortalize himself into Celtics history. And for those thinking he's already in Celtics history, look, when you play in the Garden, your fancy PR stats, efficiency stats, scoring stats, save that for a poverty franchise. With no rings, the only stats that matter in the grand scheme of things for the Celtics is how many banners you can put up in the rafters. For now, Jason Tatum is at 0. But if Jason Tatum gets 1 ring under his belt, you can finally put him in the conversation for best player on the planet. There would still be much to debate, but you can finally hold that debate. Without it, send him off to Weenie Hut Juniors. As for the franchise as a whole, if we look at total rings since 1973, which was the NBA-ABA merger, aka what many consider more of the quote-unquote modern NBA eras, the Celtics only have 6 titles since this merger. They are tied at second with the Bulls. If they can get a 7th, they will solidify themselves as a team in second place, putting the Bulls at 3rd. But speaking of second place, if you're a history buff, then the Celtics and Lakers are both tied with 17 chips apiece. Winning this year would put the Celtics back on top and the Lakers in second. And last but not least, Al Horford would finally get a ring. This is an NBA veteran that many fans want to see be a champion, regardless if you're rooting for or against the Celtics. It would be really nice to see Al finally get a chip. Moving on, let's discuss the C's opponents, the Indiana Pacers. The last time a 6th seed won an NBA title was all the way back in 1994-95 when the Houston Rockets won it as a 6th seed in the West with a 47-35 regular season record. This was the lowest seed in NBA history to win it all. The Pacers can tie them as another 6th seed to win it all, and guess what? They also have an exact same 47-35 regular season record. Imagine that. You know, both being the 6th seed is one thing, but the exact same record? That is an eyebrow-raising coincidence if I've ever seen one. While Tyrese Haliburton is only 24 years old, this team is 4 wins away from an NBA Finals. This is not an opportunity they want to blow. The Pacers are 3-time ABA champions, but so far they are 0-time NBA champions. If Tyrese can be the first Pacer to give this franchise an NBA championship ring, you can ink his name as the greatest Pacer of all time. Of course, at the time of this recording, that title belongs to Reggie Miller, but if somehow, someway the Pacers pull through and win it all, no question would Tyrese be seen as the top spot best of all for the Pacers franchise, and crazy enough, he's not even in his prime yet. Would Tyrese be seen as the best player on the planet actively? Honestly, that would be hard to debate on an individual level, but it wouldn't be crazy either. You could definitely set up the argument for if he does get Finals MVP, but there's a debate to be had. Now, best point guard in the game, if he wins a title, yes, that is a very valid statement. It would still require some level of debate, but you can definitely make a strong argument. Also, the Pacers as an overall franchise, this is an organization that is not a fan of tanking, and because of it, they've spent many years, you could argue even decades, in mediocre purgatory. Very rarely do teams escape mediocre purgatory, so the Pacers best make the most of this opportunity. Because as Kyrie Irving always states, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And speaking of Kyrie Irving, let's talk about the Dallas Dallas Mavericks and the Western Conference. There's another old saying that fate loves irony. It would be pretty ironic if Luka Doncic wins a ring this year because Luka is a player who gets flack for voter fatigue, yet he never won anything to begin with. So for him to win the most important award that doesn't require votes would be a nice twist to the NBA narrative this season. Earlier this season, Mavs owner Mark Cuban said that Luka Doncic is better than Dirk Nowitzki, who many see as the greatest Maverick of all time. Cuban also said that Dirk would be the first one to tell you that Luka's better. Without a ring, so far that seems like a hot take for a hot headline, as Dirk does have the better legacy. But if Luka wins a ring and wins one this year at the age of 25, the debate for best Maverick of all time will officially be a close call to make. At least right now, you can lean on the fault that Dirk has both a ring, Finals MVP, and a regular season MVP, while Luka has none of those as of this upload. But if he knocks 2 out of the 3 in this remaining postseason, the debate becomes much more interesting. Kyrie Irving's legacy would also have some all-time changes to it too. If he wins his second ring, he would go down in history as one of the greatest sidekicks ever. His shot in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals already puts him in that discussion, but 2 rings on 2 different franchises will show that he's truly a versatile player and not a system player. And it's no question that Kyrie already has Mamba mentality. For example, so far in his career, Kyrie Irving is 14-0 undefeated in closeout games, the best record in NBA history. Another chip for Uncle Drew would tie him with Dwayne Wade with 2 Robin rings. Wade has 1 Batman ring in 2006, and Kyrie would also tie Kevin Durant with 2 Robin rings. I know he won Finals MVP there, but come on, those were Steph Curry's teams. And the Mavericks franchise would win their second ring, their first one all the way back in 2011. Most of all though, Luka Doncic would beat the stat patter allegations, and Kyrie Irving will beat the ball hog allegations. His detractors will say that yes, Luka has a lot of really cool stats, but without the ring, it's all bark and no bite. He could finally add some bite to that bark.
What do you think?
And last but not least, we have the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves just passed the hardest part of the playoffs in terms of individual matchups. Of course, there will still be psychological pressure in the deeper rounds, but as far as the X's and O's are concerned, beating the Nuggets was their toughest game plan opponent. This is great news for the franchise as they now have an amazing opportunity to get the first ring in franchise history. On an individual level, Anthony Edwards gets a lot of Michael Jordan comparisons, but even MJ was 28 years old when he won his first ring. If Anthony Edwards can win a ring this season, he would win one at the age of 22. Ant-Man is on projection to easily be the next face of the NBA, and the timing is nearly perfect. LeBron James has not yet retired, but when he goes, there will be a LeBron-sized hole to fill, just as when Michael Jordan left, there was an MJ-sized hole that LeBron swooped in and claimed the spotlight for. Now, one could argue that Victor Wembanyama will be the one to fill the eventual LeBron-sized hole, but until that W in Wembanyama stands for win, we shouldn't be talking about any what-ifs until the W's start racking up. For now, he's just a Slender Man mythos. Back to the Timberwolves. Just a few seasons ago, this was a team that seemed to be on the verge of blowing it all up yet again and restarting from the bottom. Remember, they lost Kevin Garnett all the way back in 2007, and since then, the team had countless of mini rebuilds trying to get back to serious playoff contention. They had the Kevin Love era, the Andrew Wiggins plus Cat era, the awkward Cat plus Jimmy Butler era, and even the Cat plus Ant-Man era started off rocky. Things eventually fixed themselves when Cat accepted that he's not the #1 option and this is technically Ant-Man's team. Plus, we can't forget how Rudy Gobert found his place on this roster, and that's not even bringing up the fact that the GOAT Naz Reid saved his legacy by being such a good bench player that the Timberwolves were able to have a 6th Man of the Year and a Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. The last time that happened was in 2001 when the 76ers did it with Aaron McKee and Dikembe Mutombo. But if they can do something the Sixers can't and win it all, that would be extra special. So here's what's on the table for each remaining team's legacy for this postseason. Let me know which team you want to see it win it all this year, and who do you think has the best shot in doing so. Don't forget to dunk on that like button and subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm Rebound Rewind, and I'll fast forward to you later.